We are a coalition of congressional candidates fighting to flip red rural districts across the country. Our national spokesperson, Richard Ojeda, is here tonight, and we're so excited about our host. You all know her for those spot-on impersonations. Please welcome writer and comedian Sarah Cooper.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here. I do comedy, I do entertainment, but tonight you're going to be seeing people who actually do the work, the people who you will be voting for, and the people that will help us flip these districts to blue. So I'm so excited to help and give my time in this way and learn about these amazing candidates. So we're starting with our first panel. And the first question is, or are we going to introduce ourselves first?
We can let everybody go ahead and get a quick introduction. We'll start with you, Lindsay. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Simmons, and I'm running for Congress in the 4th District of Missouri. I'm a military spouse whose husband is currently deployed, and when I went to my incumbent congresswoman for help, she couldn't give me the time of day, so I have decided to take her job. And I'm really excited to be here, and thank you, Sarah, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
All right, Rob.
There you are. Yeah, wrong button. Technology is my, past life. I'm Rob Anderson, running in Louisiana's 3rd Congressional District. That's southwestern Louisiana. Lake Charles, Lafayette, Morgan City are our big cities. I'm a working class man, former driller, former construction worker, turned into a politician by default, kind of like Lindsay got pissed off at, annoyed with her congressperson. I got tired of the corruption, and so I figured an honest person who could do an honest day's work needs to run for him. And thank you to No Dems Left Behind for hosting this. And Sarah, it's great to meet you finally.
Go ahead, Cindy.
All right, good. Sorry, I got a little wonky there. My name is Dr. Cindy Banyai. I'm here in Southwest Florida. I'm a mom and small business. Fight for our water, our health, and our community. And I am just here to bring the voice of moms and working class people to Congress. I, like Lindsay, am mad at the corruption and the systemic issues that we face here in this country. And I am ready to fight and take my skills as a boxer to Congress to fight the bullies.
I love that line. All right, my name is Devin Pandy. I am running to represent Northeast Georgia, that's District 9. And I am a prior military armed officer, retired now, and I am ready to, I just like everyone else, saw my representative. Not only can I not remember the first time he had a town hall, I can't remember the last time he gave a town hall. So I am running to make sure that our people in this district are represented in the right way. I used to fight in war zones in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now I'm going to fight in the war zone in the
Okay, Sarah, one last time, I just want to say thank you so much. On behalf of all of the, our candidates, we are so pleased to have you on here. Once we found out it was going to be you, everybody got really excited. So we really appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule to be here to help this scrappy group out. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for giving all of your time and your lives to this. And it sounds like everyone's really fired up already, so I'm excited about this. So the first question is, you are running for Congress during an age of great uncertainty, not just COVID, but also the environment, increased fracking, increase in emissions. We are no longer in the Paris Climate Accord. What are your plans to address this if you are elected to serve? And let's start with you, Cindy.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You know, I live in Southwest Florida, coastal Southwest Florida. We're on the forefront of climate change. We have, flooding. I live in the first evacuation zone for a hurricane, and we got Tropical Storm Gonzalo coming right for us right now. And I don't honestly know whether or not I should just be stocking up for a little bit of wind and rain or be preparing for my house because it's going to hives over hot waters in the Caribbean. Because that's what climate change means to us, and that means, things are a lot more hot and heavy than it used to be. And so what I'm going to do as the person fighting for our water in the 117th Congress is make sure that we revitalize the Green New Deal, because it's likely anywhere with Mitch McConnell around. So we're going to have to revitalize that, make sure that we have good jobs and green jobs and investment in our infrastructure. Of course, in Paris. I am somebody who has been an advocate for global collaboration at the highest level, and I think climate change is the perfect example of where we need to regain our global leadership in order to save our country and the world.
Devin, let's go to you next.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and be a broken record here because, yes, first we need to rejoin the Paris Agreement. Second thing is we need to get with the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal will solve so many issues in this country. One, it will help to combat climate change. We don't have that long before what we have done to this earth is irreversible. We have to get started now. It will help to reverse our effects on the climate. We will also help to create jobs, to get people off of unemployment, get people off of welfare, and get people back to working, which is what they want to do. Most people don't want to be on welfare. They want to work. They think that it is respectable that they earn their own living. We need to give our citizens a chance to do so.
Thank you. And let's go to you, Rob.
Okay, thank you for that question. I am running from a unique position where my district provides 25% of the oil and gas that is used throughout the United States. So first of all, y'all are welcome, because I'm down here and I have to deal with the people who, if you say Green New Deal, start figuring out how to lynch me. So what we have to do, and we are in a working class, oil and gas district, is to start holding oil companies accountable. Perhaps a new package, but that is the real problem. When we're down here on the ground, just read a study the other day, we have 4,300 orphaned wells, which are oil and gas wells. So they just kind of capped and left and went on. Well, they're still polluting the groundwater. They're still emitting methane. This is a real problem. When you want to address climate change, you can also do it with jobs, because those jobs, capping those orphan wells, the oil companies are already supposed to do it, but they aren't. So just starting there and addressing coastal issues, that's 1,000 new jobs a year.
Yeah. And now to you, Lindsay.
So climate change is something that's really important to me. I grew up on a farm, so I have a very different experience. I'm not near a coast, we are landlocked, and climate change affects us a little bit differently out here on the farm. Mostly increase in temperatures produces fewer yield in livestock production, variable in temperatures and weather patterns harm soil, and we have a lot of soil erosion, and you have reduced yield in production in terms of row crops. And so I waited tables at the Applebee's in town to help pay for my way to law school. And I went to Harvard and specialized in environmental law. And as an attorney, I have worked with people to help them get FEMA benefits, and I even helped car manufacturers figure out how they can produce cars that meet our emission standards. And something that is really important to me is that we have an ongoing important conversation with our farmers and with people in rural America about what climate change actually means for us. And a lot of that has to deal with making sure that we have flood mitigation efforts. It means investing in sustainable farming, and it means accepting science, which is so crucial, especially at this point in time when we're in a global pandemic.
Listening to scientists, that sounds like a good idea to me. So let's move on to the next question. You all are a pretty young group. Many of you have children that may or may not be going back to school in the fall. How are you?
So I was going to say, I'm so happy to have Lindsay in our coalition now, because now her kids can crash the scene and not just mine. But yes, so I have 2 public school children. To go back to elementary school, and I have a toddler who is in the vulnerable population. So I'm in a real big pickle here, and I live in where we have Governor DeSantis, who's following right along with Donald Trump, trying to strong-arm schools into just doing what he says, which is open up the economy for the sake of it. Luckily, we actually got word today that our local schools are going to be closed until August 31st, which is a very prudent decision. But families like mine are not in the clear until we have this pandemic under control. So I so appreciate the teachers and the school board and the local leaders who are working on this, with us in mind, with our health, with our kids in mind. But I really wish that we didn't have such horrible abdicated leadership at this level under Trump.
I agree. Let's go to you, Devin.
Well, my children are now adults, but every child represents the future of our country and the world. Homeowners under the age of 55 pay taxes to support our schools, but all Americans want a safe environment for our school children. We have failed them when it comes to school shootings. We have failed. And I feel like until the next one happens, we won't talk about it again. And that is sad. We have to step up and protect our children. We have to protect our children. We have to protect their teachers. We have to protect the school staff. We need to protect everyone from the spread of COVID-19.
Lindsay, do you want to go next?
Sure. So my kiddo is not age appropriate for schooling just yet. He's only 2. But daycare is a huge problem too, because daycares have been shut down. Daycares are losing funding. In Missouri, our governor said publicly that he knew students in Missouri would get COVID-19. Yeah, my kid's throwing stuff.
Fired up.
But our governor in Missouri said that he knew students would get COVID-19, but that they would just get over it. And so they should go to school anyway. Students who are going to schools and involved in athletics, their parents are being asked to sign a death waiver in case their child gets infected and dies from a disease that our government will not provide funding to prevent. And in Missouri, and this is really important, a lot of our rural school districts are down to 4 days a week pre-COVID because we haven't had enough money to fund that 5th day. So we have problems before COVID-19. We certainly have a ton of problems now. And we have a governor and a president who does not care if our kids get sick and die. And that is not acceptable. And again, we should listen to science.
Thank you. And Rob.
First of all, let me say thank you for including me in the group that looks young enough to have children still in school. As a 52-year-old man, I'll say thank you very much for that. My wife Clarice and I have grown children. Like Devin, mine are grown and away from home and off to work, and no longer my problem. Still love them, but they're not here. As for our campaign, we've been asking in-district parents and teachers what their concerns are regarding schools. And in Louisiana, the approach so far has been somewhat patchwork. It's left up to each individual school district. Some are opting to try the distance learning fully. Some are augmenting that, but trying to set up patterns for kids in the classroom and routines for social distancing and a nightmare of coordinating all of that. I'm advocating personally, and our campaign is advocating for distance learning, but we have to take into account in our rural and poor areas, there are some kids who don't have iPads, who don't even have access to high-speed internet. So this is the struggle, and we're going to continue to struggle, and I just know that there's a lot of people looking at it right now. So I wish I had a better answer. We're working on it as we speak.
Hey, Sarah, I want to kind of jump in on this too, because, we're talking about, people going back to school, and everybody seems to think, well, the children are young and they have stronger immune systems and all that. But what nobody seems to be bringing up is the fact that a lot of our teachers are elderly. So how are we going to handle when we realize that our teachers are dropping like flies because of the COVID-19? And that's something that absolutely, people need to start speaking about, because we have a education force out there that are basically being told that they have to go back into the classroom. And in many cases, this is risking their lives. I mean, that's just the way that it is.
Yeah. I mean, we put so much pressure on teachers to buy supplies for students and then put their lives on the line with lack of gun control. And now, once again, it's like, yes, go sacrifice yourself. And it's just unacceptable. Those are the questions for the first panel. I didn't know if there were more discussion that we could do, or.
Well, I know we got a few more minutes, and I want to give people, if anybody has anything they want to throw in here. But also, I wanted to say, because I'm kind of like Rob Anderson, where I come from a state that is an energy state. And, whenever you start talking about Green New Deal, you have a lot of people immediately start thinking, well, you're going after these jobs. But the key thing that you have to also bring up is the fact that the Green New Deal can create jobs that can be equal, so that people, when this job is over, you can transition to something that's more than McDonald's and Walmart. And that is something that you have to be speaking about, because people that are working in these energy jobs, that's their fear. And Sandy?
Hey, so I had something, because I know this is heavy, and like all of us that is way at risk for this. So I actually wanted to cede the last few moments of our time to Sarah to see if she had something to help lighten the mood and help us Democrats who are running in these super difficult districts. Just what can you say to us to give us to keep through?
No pressure.
Well, I mean, gosh, put me on the spot.
No pressure.
I will just say that I believe we're all on the right side of history and focusing on science and education. And so I think if you remember that, you need to speak, and you are doing it. You're speaking loud and you're putting yourself out there. We need to be as loud and we need to be as in your face as the people who are wrong. And there's lots of people who are wrong that speak very loudly, and we just need to speak as loud or louder than they speak. And I just have so much confidence in the fact that you all are so passionate and dedicated to doing this. And this is all about no Dem left behind. There are Democrats in your districts. Let's find, let's make sure that they know that we have arms around them. What was that?
Where are you? Come get us. Trying to speak loud too.
Yes. So yes, even though it means that I won't be able to make videos anymore, I would like Donald Trump out of office, and I would like all of our government to be Democratic led. So.
Well, if anybody has anything else they want to say, we will go ahead and we can transition to group number 2.
Thank you all. And
Great, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to No Dem Left Behind.
It gives us energy.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and start off with Mia. Go ahead and give your introduction.
Hi everybody, I'm Mia Mason. I'm an LGBT candidate out here in Maryland's 1st Congressional District. It's the size of 2 Delawares. And, it is a rural district because we have farmers out here. We have big business out here. We have a Chesapeake Bay and our fishermen out here, and all of them have a job. And with this pandemic going on, those jobs are getting cut. And we're fighting to make sure that our shores and their jobs are protected in our future.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, Yeah, Sarah, thanks for doing this. It's really a pleasure to meet you. I'm Tom Paslowitz. I'm running in Wisconsin's 5th Congressional District, which is basically the area between Milwaukee and Madison. Our district is suburbs, it's rural, it's small towns. And one of the things I think about a lot is how do we make sure that people have the same opportunity across all three of those areas, just from an education standpoint, from an equality standpoint, from an income standpoint. And this pandemic has really opened up a lot of seams, and I think there's a lot of work that we need to do come November and come January. So, pleasure to be here, though.
Go ahead, Alan.
Sarah, thank you for doing this town hall with us today, and congratulations on your cover of Vanity Fair. My name is Alan Ellison. I'm running for the United States House of Representatives to represent Florida's 17th Congressional District. I guess the reason that I'm running is because when I look around, there's have and there's have-nots. And the fact of the matter is that the have-nots have no voice in our Congress, in our district. When I think about the undocumented workers that are living in the shadows, I can't help but think that they need a voice in Congress. When I think about the 170,000 Americans living with disabilities in our congressional district that have no voice in Congress, I can't help but understand that this is the reason that I'm running. And I think about the veterans that are committing suicide, or the ones that are thinking about committing suicide. They have no voice in our Congress. When I think about the African Americans who feel left out, underappreciated, and underrepresented, I recognize that they need a voice in Congress. And when I think about the children living in cages that are separated from their parents, I can't help but understand that they need a voice in our Congress. And so that is why I'm running, to be the voice for the voiceless and to help improve the quality of life for all citizens in America. Thank you.
Much. So, Alan, the phrase Black Lives Matter, what does it mean to you?
Black Lives Matter is like a cry for people to recognize the fact that in this country, while all lives matter, Black lives have been underrepresented, underappreciated, overlooked, and disregarded. There is a level of dignity and respect that is not afforded to Black people in this society. And so Black people want to be recognized as the same, not less than for sure, but just the same. And we have a ways to go in this country. And I guess the overarching theme and what my brothers and sisters are trying to convey is that Black lives matter too.
Tom?
Yeah, great question. When I think about Black Lives Matter, what I really think about is structural racism. And what the Black Lives Matter movement is to me is it's time to end structural racism. I live, part of my district is in Milwaukee County, and Milwaukee County last year declared racism to be a public health crisis. And by doing that, what it really did was it had everybody take a step back and think about structurally, are we feeding into the systemic racism when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to justice, when it comes to all the different pillars that you have in any community? And it really forced people to take a step back and think about, okay, because to me personally, it's really hard to overcome individual racism. It's hard to change people's minds at an individual level, but when we can work on the structural aspect of it, when we can get rid of we can have a better justice system that doesn't put people of color in jail for misdemeanors or small crimes that white people just don't have to go to jail for. When we start really working on those things, we create an element where now we have a chance to say, like Alan said before, that all lives matter. But until we address this issue, it's going to keep coming back. And I think personally that it is now time in our country to do something about it. And I think last polling showed that a majority of Americans want to do something at this point. So now's the time to do it. Now's the time to take action. And it's going to be up to all of us to make that happen, especially people like me who are white and live in suburbs. We have to take control, and we have to be able to say enough is enough. It's time to change.
And Mia?
Well, with Black Lives Matter, it is definitely about restoring that diversity, that training, and making sure that us on the federal level restore equity and equality to all. For that to happen, reform has to happen. New training has to happen. It has to happen quarterly, yearly. We also have to be able to be engaged in the community. Go to your Black Lives Matter group. Go to the protests. See what they're about. Get to know them. They're not out there to harm or hurt you or tear down statues or tear up your heritage or history, take away your land. These are things that will make things change for everyone when we work together.
If I can hop in here also, Sarah, it's not Black Lives Matter only. It's Black Lives Matter too. That's one of the things you got to. There's a lot of people out there, especially in your rural, in areas where I come from in West Virginia. They're not getting it, and it's important that we speak to them and explain to them that all lives cannot matter unless Black Lives Matter too. And we have to be willing to address that. Even if people are against you, we've got to change in this country. It has to change.
Yeah, and I'll actually jump in one more time. Sarah, I'd love to hear what you think about this, because you're looking at it from a totally different perspective than we are. So what are your thoughts on this issue?
I mean, I don't think my perspective is that much different from how you're feeling about it. Michael Che has one of my favorite stand-up comedy specials about Black Lives Matter, and he just repeats the phrase, Black Lives Matter. Matter. Just matter. Just matter, make them matter. And it's not much to ask. It really isn't. It's almost the bare minimum when you think about it. To me, it's a no-brainer, but I understand that a lot of people have this stigma with the understanding of what it means. And I think if we just keep speaking about it the same way you all are speaking about it, people will start to understand it. And we're seeing that in the polling. People are starting to get on board and understand what it's really all about. So I think slowly but surely we're getting there.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
After our own citizens on American soil by someone that is obviously taking orders from Russia. Mia, let's start with you.
Well, as a veteran and a retired one, I understand that this is a personal issue, and to answer it, we don't know if they're taking it directly from Russia, but we know it's coming from the commander-in-chief, and it goes down the totem pole for whoever he's hiring to be this secret police that are picking up our, communities off the street and taking them away without giving them the due process or their civil rights. I think that, honestly, it's going to have to change. If they're in the military, they know what honor is. They know what courage is. They know what commitment is. They can stand up and say no. That is loyalty still to this country, not to a party, not to a person, but to our country. That's what we're serving our country for. That's a reason I joined our military. So, I go overseas and I do things, but if I have to come here and do things on the streets here, there is something really wrong with our country, and it starts at the highest level in office, the White House.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, as a Navy veteran, I was on a submarine for 4 years, and just the idea that our president would order some troops into our own cities and under the guise of protecting federal buildings, and one, that's just not true, but under the idea that they're going to be somehow creating a tension with citizens, this is the beginning of fascism. This is how it works. This is the game plan. It was just announced they're probably going to be sending some troops to Milwaukee. I think a lot of politicians in Wisconsin are starting to really talk about what can we actually do about it. And the problem is there's not much to do about it. I put this squarely on the shoulders of the Republican Senate right now. If those Republican senators don't start speaking up now, this is a slippery slope that we're leading into something that is probably going to end up being more dangerous as we get closer to the election. But I also want to mention the fact that we found out that Russia was paying bounties to kill our service members in Afghanistan, and that has not been addressed at all by this current presidency. So when you've got a president who's willing to send troops into his own cities, and then you also have a president who's unwilling to do anything about another country putting bounties on our service members, as a veteran, I cannot tell you how upset that makes me. And this is something that I don't think we're up in arms about. I know Senator Tammy Duckworth, I think, tweets about this every day, that there's still silence about this issue. So I think those two things in combination show us that Donald Trump is unfit to command our military.
There's just so many things to be up in arms about. I'd almost forgotten that what you just reminded us about the American soldiers. So yes, please keep speaking out about that. Alan?
First of all, I want to say thank you to Richard, Tom, and Mia for your years of service and your dedication to our country. When I think about what Tom just said, in veterans, in the military men and women who have bounties on their heads, when I think about the fact that the Congressman, Greg Steube, that I'm running against, was more concerned with the idea that the information was leaked to the media, more so than he was concerned about the fact that we have bounties on the heads of our soldiers. I'm appalled at that. I think that we can do better in this country. When it comes to military men and women that are being unleashed in our cities on protesters, I'm not quite sure that these are actually military men and women. I believe that these are rogue private militia groups that the president has hired to go and commit crimes against the Constitution, crimes against the public. I think that it is definitely unconstitutional. There is no due process of law taking place, and it's despicable, to say the least, in under 60 seconds.
Now, I have to hop in here too, because there's a couple things I want to say here. Number one, watching a Navy veteran go approach a group of people that are in uniform with no patches or markings to let anybody know. And when he asked them, a simple question, he was attacked and had mace sprayed in his face. And I want to read this to you all, because today a friend of mine who is a lawyer posted this. And it was first a photograph of police officers. It says, if you have 12 bad cops who abuse black people and 1,300 good cops who don't do anything about it, what you really have is 1,312 bad cops. Now think about that. Now what he wrote is, as a lawyer, I can be disciplined and punished as potentially lose my law license for not reporting violations of the law and rules of professional conduct by other lawyers. The same goes with judges and prosecutors. Why should police officers who stick their collective heads in the sand about misconduct by other officers be any different? And that right there is absolute spot on. It's spot on. What we are seeing across this country, these people showing up and snatching people off the streets, unacceptable. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if I'm sitting with 50 people and a van pulls up with 4 guys and they think they're gonna grab somebody, they're about to fight 50 people. And you know what? Nobody wants to think that we're out here fighting our own people. But make no mistake about it, those kind of tactics cannot be overlooked.
Thank you. We have some time if anybody wants to respond to Richard or has anything else to say about this.
Sure, I like to definitely kind of tag onto it, because as a veteran, that Navy person who stood up showed moral courage, showed that bravery to basically say, look, you're either loyalty to a person or you're loyal to this country. And they just beat the crap out of him. That is unacceptable. That's like what happened to Freddie Gray. That's like what happened to Trayvon. That's like what happened to George Floyd. And it happens to everybody. And this is why Black Lives Matter, because it is going to help us change our entire country to get that reform done from the highest level all the way down to the local levels, because our police should not be militarized. They shouldn't have MRAPs. They shouldn't have, $850 in body kit, all right, to stand in front of a protester with their own personal AR-15 when we need hospital supplies, we need medical supplies, we need a vaccine. We need to be able to get people out of the ICUs, because in other states, they're completely packed. We have to make this change. And we also have to fix the climate as well. Those are the things that we have to bring forward, and that money may have to actually come from the police, because they're out there, and the secret police that are out there doing these harmful things, it's got to stop.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the idea of making America a better place and having an actual plan to be able to do it has always been a goal and a mission of the progressive ideology. The candidates that are a part of No Dem Left Behind, these are passionate candidates with a heart for service, candidates that want to really make a better quality of life for all Americans. And so if you're listening to this broadcast, I want to encourage you to go to No Dem Left Behind and consider giving a contribution, because in doing so, it helps all of us be able to get our message out and win these elections, because we really can't do it without you. Sarah, thank you so much for you stepping up to do this town hall with us. If you can, please get some of your friends that have equal brand equity in the marketplace to do the same thing, because this is real. This election is probably the most important election we've ever seen in American history. We literally have a dictator in the making at the head of our government, and he has allies who are standing by doing nothing, allowing him to tear down our Constitution and just basically destroy our way of life. And so we need your support.
Yeah, and I'm just going to take off of what Alan just said, because to me this is about servant leadership. And what we're finding is there's a lot of military veterans who believe in servant leadership, which is about leading for the benefit of others. And what we're seeing right now is we have a commander-in-chief who doesn't believe in servant leadership. And we're also seeing that he's finding other people that are involved in either police or part of the military who also don't. And I think this is a real challenge. This is a struggle we have in our country right now. And by actually getting behind the idea that we should be electing people that want to lead for the benefit of others can be a game changer in our society. But like Alan said, this is the most important election that we're going to have in our lifetime. And we have, at least to me, it's a very clear path about which direction you want to go. It's going to come down to, do we want a competent government led by people who actually want to do good for others, or do we want continued corruption and continued basically dictatorship? And so that is the issue at hand, and that is something that I think we need to make sure that people understand why they need to go vote on November 3rd.
I also want to hop in and say that it's also important that when these folks win their races and go to Washington D.C., they refuse to allow these people who have sat silent. I had an executive officer that got shot in the chest by a sniper. Now, this was in Iraq. Now I would think if that was in Afghanistan, could that be one of the bounties? We cannot allow these people who are right now ignoring what's going on, who are sitting silent and refusing to act. Leaders lead. That's what leaders do. And that's why it's important for us to go to Washington, D.C. and absolutely hold people accountable when they do the things or do not do the things that they're supposed to do. Well, I know that we are coming to the next. Once again, for these three folks, Sarah, I know that they will agree. We thank you.
Thank you so much. And when you go to DC, we will be supporting you as well. It's not just you doing the work, we'll continue to support you as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks again, Richard.
Thank you.
which will be up there first.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Panel 3.
Best for last.
There we go. There we go.
Three. Yes.
There we go.
So let's go around and just introduce ourselves. Let's start with Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie Klein, and I'm running for U.S. Congress in rural West Virginia's 1st Congressional District. Thank you, Richard, where I am working every single day to improve our healthcare and our healthcare options, to bring jobs back to our district, and to provide a better life for our kids. Thank you so much for doing this tonight. I'm so excited.
Gary?
Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Gary Wegman, and I am running in the 9th district in Pennsylvania to become our congressional representative. And I'm going to have to push back against Richard here. You almost atoned for yourself last segment, Richard, with the attorney story. But when you defined our teachers as elderly, and they're 10 years younger than me, look at this. This is not elderly. Okay, elderly is my mother who's watching. Mother, sorry.
I didn't say elderly. He's got the gaming chair, Richard. He's got the gaming
Words
chair.
matter here. Words matter. Now, I'm a 36-year experienced dentist working in the healthcare profession, but in our district, they get the best of both worlds with me because I'm a 5th-generation farmer and I care for a 100-acre farm every day. Agriculture is the biggest industry in the 9th district in Pennsylvania, and these people do not have a voice in Washington, D.C., and they're hurting. Their health care is too expensive. They're small businesses. They've got to buy it, pay for it for themselves. And I intend on going to D.C. to represent everybody in the district.
Thank you. Adam?
100%. Hey, my name is Adam Christensen. I am running for Congress in Florida's 3rd district, which until about 3 days ago, nobody even knew existed. Ted Yoho is my current representative. He is the one that we are trying to flip his seat. He is not running, but his power structure is. His donors are. His entire ideology still is. And so I would be one of the youngest people ever elected to Congress. Our entire team is made up of young progressives, about 50 of us under the age of 26, basically said, we got to fix things, and we don't really have a choice. And so that is why I am running, and that is a little bit about who I am.
Great. Okay. So Gary, you're a healthcare professional. How do we fix our healthcare crisis that we have in this country? That's an easy question, huh?
Yeah, give me 60 seconds and I'll do it. COVID-19 has laser focused everybody on the inequities and the brokenness of our current healthcare system, which consumes or did consume 18% of our GDP, but it's probably more now. We need to get serious about decoupling healthcare from our business community. It puts them at a global disadvantage and it locks people into jobs where they can't move from state to state or job to job because they're locked into their healthcare plan, which commits them to an insurance company, but it doesn't give them the freedom to choose their doctor. The insurance industry tells them this. We can save a lot of money, Sarah, by just changing the way we pay for healthcare. I am not about advocating for a socialist system. I want our private doctors to compete in the private sector for our public dollars. America already pays over 60% of healthcare with the taxes that are taken out of our payroll. We can fix this by changing the way we pay for it and eliminating the serious overhead that comes with trying to navigate 7,000 different insurance plans. This can be done, but there's got to be a willingness in Congress to address the problem, not the symptoms, but actually say we're going to have a serious conversation. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be a Republican plan. It's not going to be a Democratic plan. We have to pick the best of all systems throughout the world and create a uniquely American healthcare system where we're all taken care of.
Definitely not going to be a Republican plan. They don't know how to write plans. So.
Did I say amen to that?
Adam?
Same question? Okay, sure. Well, I'll tell you, this is how you're going to get Republicans signed on. You tell them, look, we don't have a free market. We want a free market. We're going to get rid of the middlemen, people that are stealing your money. Because right now, you got some people that are stealing 30% of everything you pay. You don't like that. I don't like that. Nobody likes it. So you get rid of the insurance companies. Now you pay 30% less. On top of that, we're in a pandemic. One person doesn't have health care. No one is safe. So there's your answer. And at the same time, it's cheaper. So you also permit as a small business tax cut. I've started a couple businesses, and the reason right now the small businesses and startups are getting killed, they can't afford to pay $8,000 per employee. So you take that away and you say, I'm going to give you a small business tax cut. On top of that, I'm going to get rid of middlemen, and you're going to be paying a whole lot less. That's Medicare for all. That's the basics. And I think if you frame it like that, we'll be okay with it.
Thank you. Natalie?
I love this question. I could speak well past my 60 seconds on this question because this district alone has seen 4 medical facilities close in the last 9 months that were all owned by the same company that came through, bought them cheap, stripped them for profits, and then is hiding behind bankruptcy loopholes, the last of which closed as soon as coronavirus hit West Virginia. Because as we know, pandemics are not profitable. Coronavirus is not profitable to hospitals, and it shouldn't have taken a global pandemic for us to realize that tying private insurance to our health care and our hospitals is not the best idea. In 1948, we signed the UN Declaration of Rights saying that healthcare is a right, except 70 years later, we are still debating whether it actually is or not. Other countries have been able to provide universal healthcare coverage at 1/2 to 2/3 less cost than our system, providing equal or better healthcare with high patient satisfaction. So while we are dealing with private insurance companies and CEOs and worrying about their bottom line, it's time that we take a step forward and start demanding that we become the bottom line and that we can have our healthcare addressed. And I think that the coronavirus has really brought this to light.
Healthcare is a right. Let's talk money. I understand you guys don't have any. I saw you doing a $1 donor request on Sunday, and I haven't seen that before. So can you tell us if $1 can really make a difference? I mean, split 12 ways, that's less than 10 cents for each of you. How would it change your race if you were to receive some financial support? Natalie, why don't you go again?
It's honestly huge. I know that people are starting to get conditioned to hear that a Democrat is running a grassroots campaign. And I think because we're saying it so frequently, people are losing sight of what that actually means. And that actually means that we're taking small dollar donations from individuals who believe in us, who agree with our policy positions and want to see us continue to fight for them. These are not corporate CEOs who are donating their PAC money to us. A lot of Democrats, myself included, have refused corporate PAC donations. That means that when you look at my FEC reports, I am $500,000 to potentially $1 million less in donations than my Republican incumbent, who didn't have to work for those, hasn't held a town hall in over 10 years. He just wakes up and some PAC deposits money into his bank account. Meanwhile, he's not communicating with us, he's not engaging with us, and he cares about their bottom line when it comes time to vote on policy that affects every single one of us. So that small dollar donation, I know where every single penny goes. I know how much every single sign costs, every single Facebook ad. We're spending it efficiently, and it's out there to fight for every single one of us.
Thank you. Yes, let's pay our leaders to actually do something. What a concept. Adam.
Yeah, so my district's a little bit different, simply because I'm running for an open seat, and the person I'm probably going to be running against, his father is financing his entire campaign and pouring $500,000 into it. For me, I'm extremely young. I used most of the money I had just to be able to get on the ballot. For me, it is a matter of being able to run a successful campaign or not. In the last week since the $1 donation, actually, we have raised a significant amount of money. So for the past 3-4 months, we have doubled every single month which means that we are actually scaling up. And so, number one, we have to be scrappy. Number two, we're running in places where every dollar goes a heck of a lot farther than it ever would in a Democratic seat. The return on investment for this part of the country is huge as far as votes, especially in Florida. And so what we are seeing is we can, number one, be more efficient, more effective, and we can use the money that we have. It's not much, but it's starting to grow, and actually be able to put pressure on Republicans. Because if you actually fight them for every single acre of land across the country, you make them spend money in places they've never had to spend it before, spend time, spend effort. And if you do that all across the country, they're not going to be able to compete in the competitive districts. And right now, that's the only places they have to compete. So for us, we are taking the fight to them because we're no longer playing defense. And if we had $500,000, we'd be able to flip most of these seats, and we'd be able to change an entire infrastructure and tear down an entire system that has been here for this long. For instance, Ted Yoho, you're gonna switch a face, but if you don't take out the donors, you don't take out the infrastructure, you don't take out the backing, you haven't done a thing.
I love that. I hope everyone heard that. Your dollar goes even further for these candidates, so please donate. Now to you, Gary.
Thank you, Sarah. And we got to repeat what Adam just said so everybody gets that. $500,000 could mean that most of the races that you're looking at here today could be won by our Democratic, no Dem left behind candidates. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've lived in my district all my life. We have a very strong progressive movement here in the 9th District in Pennsylvania. Last week, I was at a Black Lives Matter event that was run and organized by a lot of youth in our communities. A month ago, there was a Pride Festival celebration in the 9th District. We're a microcosm of what exists in our nation, and our current congressman doesn't want to represent everybody. I became a Democrat because I care about people, and I thought Democrats were the party that were about family and community and caring for everyone. So people have to understand that $1, I could buy 100 texts at a penny a piece and hit 100 different constituents that are persuadable, that need to hear the issues that we're running on. I'm not bashing another party. We need to unify this nation, but we need to run on real issues and real solutions to those issues. And we can do that, but everybody has to own a piece of this and put some skin in the game. At $1 a person, it doesn't hurt too bad, does it?
You know, Sarah, also, we're the ones going into the red rural areas. They call it the red to blue list. If you're running for Congress and you get on this list and just unlimited money just comes pouring in. But, you would think that, the DCCC and those groups would actually want to invest more into the red rural districts, because we're going to be flipping some of those seats. And how do we convince these people, other than, our individual donors, that we're on the right path and we are the ones that deserve the money in terms of being able to fight these battles. We don't get the red to blue list because they look at our races and say, well, they may not be winnable. But Natalie Klein got 62,000 votes in the primary, and that is unheard of in the 1st District. She's going against a guy for the first time ever. I think she's got a good chance.
Can I interject real quick since you're talking about me real fast? My district also has a very low voter turnout. My win number is 118,501 votes, and I already have 60-some thousand votes from my primary. So that $1 that you can donate to me means that I can actually afford to continue to text the people who I can more easily flip and bring my way, which, by the way, we have an equal number of registered Democrats and Republicans in this district. So it is the Democrats who are actually voting my opponent in, and they don't feel connected enough to the Republican Party to switch their voter registration. I need to be communicating with them constantly, and the more I can afford to text bank, I can do that. Thank you, Richard.
And Natalie, you also need to be hitting the fact that unions continue to support this guy, and he votes for unions 15% of the time. Unacceptable.
Yep, I did get the AFT, American Federation of Teachers endorsement. the AFL-CIO decided to take a no action, which is better than them endorsing him. However, my opponent actually voted nay to protect their right to organize. He actually votes to take healthcare away from millions of Americans. And I'm not quite sure how he is actually supporting these unions. So I am happy that they took no action, but it is disappointing to not be able to receive an endorsement for something that I feel so passionately about, and will every single day in office open my door and roll out the red carpet for any labor union member.
Thank you. Richard, you hit it earlier too. It's about jobs. These are pocketbook issues for our constituents. If we show them, look, money's never been cheaper. In the 1980s, you had to pay 20% interest to borrow money. The Fed is lending it out at almost at 0%. Why this government hasn't gotten together, ours, these independents, and shown us an infrastructure investment plan throughout our nation. We spent $6 trillion overseas in the past 20 years and didn't bring any real jobs back to America. Let's spend our money here at home, and we Democrats can show the unions and everybody else, our ag communities, there's good living wage jobs to be had right here in America.
I think also it's about joy and hope, and the fact that we are not afraid to actually stand up and say, yeah, we might have lost here before, we might have lost for a lot of years, but you know what? Things can be different this time. If we're willing to put in the work, the effort, and focus on people, we alone have to focus on the fact that we are going to take care of the poor, the hungry, the sick, the needy, the downtrodden, those that don't actually have political power. And when we put them first as a society, we are better people, we have a better community, we have a better life. When you make that argument to people, that's how you change things. And the best place to do that is in the places that have been left alone for a long time. And so for us, especially trying to run in these districts, it's a lot of fun. You get to see some crazy stuff like we got to see earlier this week with Yoho, but we've seen it with every other candidate here. And you get to go against people like that. And if you show them for who they are, the fact that they don't care about people, and you show them that there is somebody who actually does, you're going to change a lot of hearts and minds, and you're going to flip a lot of districts. But what matters is when you do flip them, you have the political courage to actually do something with it. Actually go and make people's lives better. You don't just go there for 2 years, call a bunch of people on the phone, raise a bunch of money, and then come back and say, you know, I'm done. Because that's not worth it.
You know, before we end this, there was a question if we had time, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it for everybody here because it's a good question. And that is basically, why should people in other districts reach out and donate to our candidates? And the thing is flipping a red seat blue in the 1st District of West Virginia benefits people in Arizona and in Florida. And that's the key. So for all the people out there, and we've been getting some great turnouts on these live town halls. I'm asking each and every one of you people out there that are watching this and letting you know that you can donate $1 to a person that's running in Florida. And if that person wins, you have somebody in Washington, D.C. that is willing to stand up and fight for you. So I want to take this opportunity and say to Sarah Cooper, on behalf of all of our candidates, we are absolutely so grateful for you taking the time to come out here and give us these, you know, quiz us and bring up these topics so that our people out there can listen to what, you know, our answers. And I want to turn it over for you to close us out.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I mean, I think I'm like most people. I love a good underdog story. I love a good comeback story. That's what it's so exciting about these districts, is that we can flip them. And I know you're grateful for me for my time, but this is an hour of my time. It's your lives, and I just want to say how appreciative I am of all of you for making this your life's work and for dedicating your time to flipping these districts and having us have people in Washington who speak sense would be great, who talk about issues, who listen to scientists, and who will fight for us. And so I just wanted to thank all of you. And this was absolutely 100% my honor and pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sarah. We really appreciate it. And once again, thanks to all the candidates. My shirt, airborne. All right, guys, let's get out there. Let's get it done.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Airborne.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Sarah Cooper tonight with our coalition, No Dem Left Behind. As you see, you can follow our coalition, No Dem Left Behind 2020, right there on your screen. You can join to be a No Dem Left Behind ambassador right here at the website, nodemleftbehind.com. And like we were talking about throughout this entire conversation, is donating to our campaign. Here you go. Here's the link. It's been on your screen all night long to make sure that you are able to donate. However, if you're watching YouTube, you get to be able to pick and choose a candidate's website of your choice. Go to it. Make a big donation to help us out. Every little bit matters to our candidates to make them succeed. We are fighting for this nation, not only in just a little district that's red, but of course the entire state. And no matter where you are, no matter where we came from, we are going forward. That's what No Dem Left Behind is about. And we thank you for joining us tonight.